Josh Dueck. He's been an elite. Okay, we're very excited to have him here with us. He's been an elite Lululemon ambassador for over a decade. He's empowered and engaged with thousands of people to think through their limitations and live full, fulfilling, and engaged lives and active lives. Lululemon is one of the, as I hope you visited the Lululemon lounge outside with the swings. They're a partner of the Oahu Summit, and we're particularly excited to be able to share this story with all of you, especially as we conclude the first day. Shh. Thank you. It's a very powerful and very personal story, and I think it kind of culminates a lot of the themes that we've been talking about over the course of today. And so as we are getting ready to wrap up the first of 3 days of this incredible summit, please join me in welcoming Josh to the stage.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. Sweet. Hello. It is so good to be here right now with you guys, hanging out. Wow. Ay, I haven't even done anything. Cool. That's a lot of love. And I want to give some of that love back and give some thanks to Lululemon for inviting me to be a part of the conversation today as we celebrate and explore the root of happiness and how we can radiate that through humanity. Now, the nature of my story is for the most part a happy one. However, it is littered with contrast, peaks and valleys, and a few moments of clarity. And about maybe 36 years I've been on this planet. Not maybe, I've been on the planet for 36 years. 20 of them have been dedicated to sport. And right now I'm facing what is the greatest challenge of my life. And it's not the physical disability that you see. It's been the departure from what I know, from who I am, from my identity. For as long as I can remember, I've always wanted to be a skier. And as a kid, I remember dreaming about what it would feel like to go up into the mountains and ride a chairlift and ski back down. And even just thinking about it right now brings me so much happiness. And since this is a personal story, I figure it kind of makes sense if we just start at the beginning. So I grew up in a quintessential mountain community nestled deep in the Rocky Mountains of British Columbia, on the outskirts of town and on the edge of poverty. The luxury of sport was not something that my parents could afford to give us kids. And it was actually through a school field trip that I was given my first opportunity to experience this semi-controlled free fall coming down the mountain. And right away I was hooked. I came home from school that day and I said, Mom, Dad, I'm going to be a professional ski bum and I'm going to live in a van down by a river. And they kind of looked at me, they're like, come on. They didn't say much, but I'm pretty sure they would have preferred that I get a real job. And I kind of did for a little bit in order to afford the dream so that I could push forward and see it through. And for the remainder of high school and into my early 20s, that's exactly what I did. I had dreams of being a professional skier and maybe even one day an Olympic athlete. And again, financial constraint came into the equation. I was forced into retirement. And I somewhat reluctantly got into coaching. I thought, hey, this would be a good way to pay off some debt, stay involved with what I love to do. But I immediately discovered how much I loved coaching and being able to share my passion and communicate that with other people and help them to achieve their goals. I get into coaching, and if you will, visualize the ideal day in the mountains. Sun is shining, snow is perfect, the temperature right around the freezing mark, and I ski down to the venue and I'm feeling awesome. The venue is where the kids are training, ages like 9 to 15, and they're working on a jump, which is about 15 feet tall and about 50 feet back from the beginning of the landing hill. And rather than try to explain technique to the kids, I thought, you know what? I'm just gonna lead through example. And so I did. I remember bombing down the in-run and thinking to myself, man, my skis are going really fast. And I had this gut feeling that maybe I should pull out. But my youthful sense of invincibility overrode that. I'm just going to give you a quick little shot of what skiing used to look like for me.
To be them put no catch on my pillar. We I love man for Nike and I love man for filler. Cause that's not the ways of ancient war gorilla. Rather than to slave all me, so sick of then and alone. Some breezy Sunday morning, this maiden came to town. Me have a black a sound. Oh, she's so cute and plus so sexy and so round. Sunlight get your skin and lot of good from head to crown. This can be
I set up for the trick and went down the in-run, and about halfway down the in-run realized that I was going a bit faster than I expected, and off the end of the jump I panicked, and I did the front flip, and it was huge. I cleared the 50-foot gap between the end of the jump and the start of the landing hill. I over-rotated the front flip and completely overshot the landing hill. I fell over 100 vertical feet. That's like falling off the top of a 10-story building onto my face.
Oh my God! He's down, he's down.
When I regained consciousness, fear had laid its icy hand on me. Paralysis is tough to explain, other than I felt a very significant disconnect in my body, and that no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't move. The gravity of the situation really hit me when I started to look up and I saw all the kids huddled down around me, and I looked into their eyes and I saw how deeply my actions affected them. My body was broken, but that afternoon everybody broke in their own way. And that's haunted me for over a decade, feelings of guilt and shame that I dragged these kids through that. And it was the first time that I realized how much our actions affect other people and how interconnected we are. On the way down to the hospital, anticipating the worst but hoping for the best, I kept repeating a mantra over and over that everything happens for a reason, nothing happens we're not strong enough to deal with, and everything in life had prepared me for that moment. When I finally got down to the hospital, the doctor had a look at the x-rays, realized that I had dislocated my back, severed my spinal cord, and I was never going to walk again. He's got to come in and tell a 23-year-old kid, what's up? And he came in and he's like, you know what, man? You're going to rock the world from a wheelchair. And before you know it, we're going to have you back in the mountains riding a sit ski with all your friends. I don't know how he knew to say the right thing, but in my darkest moment, he gave me just a little bit of hope. And I hope, my friends, that is a powerful tool in creating change. They airlift me to Vancouver. I undergo an invasive surgery to stabilize my back. When I wake up in intensive care, one of the first people to meet me there was a girl. Not just any girl, she was the one. And I had pursued her for a long time, and I failed, and I failed, and I failed. And when she heard about my accident, she had quit her job, bought a one-way bus ticket with the intention to come help a friend in need. Her name's Lacey. She's amazing. She's here with me today. About a week after, I'd asked her to be my girl. 5 years later, my wife, and now mother of our two beautiful children. Now, if hope is a powerful tool in creating change, then love was the gas that we poured on the fire. And I do not want to diminish the significance of a spinal cord injury and what it means to live with a disability, because it is a son of a... But she made my process in the hospital, my time in the rehab center, something to be grateful for. And then my return to the mountains, something that felt natural. A few years later, we decided, you know what, let's make a campaign for the Vancouver 2010 Paralympic Winter Games. For us, it was just nice to have a goal. Being from British Columbia, it was close to home. It seemed like a natural fit. It was a long shot, and we knew that. Impossible, some people even said.
2007, ended up winning the Canadian Championships. 2008, I earned a spot on the World Cup circuit. Got my ass handed to me every weekend. And I didn't like that very much. So I took what I learned, applied it over the summer, brought it to 2009, and won the World Championships, which was kind of crazy. Ended up coming back to Whistler from the World Championships and won the downhill there, which solidified me as one of the skiers that belong with the best. And I was feeling good. And that just rolled me in quite nicely to the Paralympic Games in Whistler in 2010 and brought home a silver medal for Canada, which was outstanding.
Josh Dueck slid down in his sit ski for yet another silver finish. Every one of his supporters were on their feet.
I think one of the fondest memories I have of the games was the gathering. Literally 10,000 people, including a lot of friends and family that were all there to cheer towards a common goal. And the beautiful part about the Paralympics was how everybody was cheering on every athlete from every nation, whether they were visually impaired, standing or sit skiers, from the east or the west. It didn't matter. The crowd was alive. It was electric. And the closer it came to my turn, the more tense I became. My first time competing at a big show. I felt like my mouth was getting dry and my nerves were getting tense, and I was just like gripped. And my sports psych looked at me, he's like, "Brother, what is happening?" And he's like, "You are just melting down right now." I'm like, "Come on, man, I don't even know what's going on. I'm really thirsty and I gotta go pee, and I'm not quite sure what to make of it." And it's like, "There's a lot of people down there." And he's like, "Oh, dude, chill out." He's like, why don't we just do this?" And this is when he introduced me to the power of the breath and how we can control our energy. And he said, "Look, there's a lot of people out there. What do they want?" "Well, I think they want me to have a good time." "And what do you want?" "Well, I want to show them how much I love the sport." Okay. So visualize their energy coming in and just inhale it. Feel it. Oh my God, it felt so good. And then just exhale and then very intentionally give it back. And in doing that, I liberated myself in a way that I'd never felt before. I dropped in and I just remember feeling the snow the first run in a way that I've never felt the snow. I sunk my edge into it and I'm like, oh, it's gonna be good. Shortly after the game, something happened that I did not expect. A period of time that I affectionately called the Paralympic hangover. And for the first time in a long time, I recognized I had no goals. And I guess I was the type of goal setter that was setting goals my whole life I didn't even know. When I was younger, as an athlete, I wanted to be better. When I had my accident, I wanted to recover. When I became a Paralympian, I wanted to be the best. And suddenly, without any goals, I opened the door for depression. And I started drinking more than I would normally. And I find you tend to land hardest on those you love the most. And I nearly drove Lacey out of my life. It was about a year later that a buddy of mine came up to me and says, "Yo, brother, do you think you can ride your sit ski in the powder in the backcountry?" And I said, "Well, yeah, sure, why not?" And I knew that would have been enough of a goal for me to dig myself out of the trenches, give myself an opportunity to look forward and do something new and exciting. We had very modest intentions, turned to an award-winning documentary called The Freedom Chair, which was the genesis for the idea to do a backflip. Now, it had never been done before on a sit ski, but we could see it clearly in our mind's eye. Step one, I talked to Lacey. I said, babe, I got this idea. I want to go upside down. She's like, you what? Do you see it? Can you feel it? And I'm like, yeah. And I went to her because I know the effect of my actions and the impact it can have on other people. And she was the most directly related to my life. With her support and her belief, we assembled a little team, like a very intimate crew of people that knew how to build the right jump and that I knew would not put any undue pressure or expectation on the situation. So that if I didn't feel it, remember when I was talking about the front flip that I did? My gut instinct was don't do it. I've gone to a lot of schools and shared that story. And I wanted to test myself and my capacity to listen to my body in a critical moment when I had a goal that I desperately wanted to achieve. And the crew was awesome. They said, man, if you don't hit that jump, we get to, so no big deal. So we actually went out 3 different times in attempts to do this jump. Finally, when everything lined up and I felt good, I'll never forget, they radioed up from the bottom. They said, yo, Dewey, you ready? And I said, yeah. And then I thought, this is what ready feels like? Feels quiet. Okay. Let me show you what happened.
I knew that deep soft snow was going to leave me the biggest margin for error. Powder Mountain Snowcats decided to build me this big old backcountry booter, and then when the weather was right, obviously I knew it was time to send it.
If you think that was crazy, what happened next blew my socks off. Next day, I get a phone call from Los Angeles. Ellen DeGeneres, she wants you to come down. I'm like, well, maybe if you got tickets for 2. So Lacey and I head down there, and I gotta tell you this, she is so much better than she projects on television. She's so genuine, caring, and graceful. And the 15 minutes that I had with her on stage, I felt like I was the only person on the planet. She gets it, and she's got it, and she gives it. She's amazing. So 2 years later, on March 8th, 2014, I found myself, oh, there's Ellen. I knew I'd duff one slide. I found myself in the starting gate of the Paralympic Winter Games in Sochi. And we're running the downhill, which in my opinion is the most exhilarating and exciting event of the Games. We hit speeds of upwards of 140 kilometers an hour, ricocheting off of bumps. My goal, my intention for the day was very simple. Make it to the bottom in one piece so that when I go home, I can go back to my family. And I did. I exceeded my expectations. In fact, I finished in second place. I'm glad you guys are happy, because when I was in the podium box, this feeling came across me that I wanted more. And I think for the first time in my athletic career, I finally identified how much I wanted to win. So the next day, I took that momentum, put it on the mountain, and skied the best run of my entire life.
The 10th anniversary of the accident that meant he lost the use of his legs. Dueck off and going in the LW11 class, and look, he's 0.81 inside the time of Kano. Both of them in the LW11 class, and Dueck continuing his good form from day one. This could be very, very tight. Can he depose Kano from the top of the podium? And if he does, he'll push his compatriot Brusso out of bronze. Now, this is the key part. 59.78, the next time check. And he is dead level. Kano and Dueck, he can't split them. This is going to be fascinating down the final pitch. Josh Dueck to take gold away from Kano. Can he ski this right? Can he find the line? Full of confidence. Oh, he's late in it. He's late in it. Oh, Dueck inside of the finish. Can he get back? No, he can't. Oh, dearie me. What drama.
Now, I'm showing you this video for a couple of reasons. One, because I was gutted. And more importantly, because of the profound affirmation, and we've heard it already today, that the journey is more important than the destination. When we run these races, you don't practice. You have one visual inspection of the run, you have a bib assigned to you, and then you go up and you race it one and done. So when we came down the mountain, we looked at it and we said, okay, the weather is like this, the snow conditions are like that, the mountain is falling away like this, my emotion is here, the energy of the games is all over. So we look at these things and we calibrate the equation, the best of our ability. And I broke the plan. I'm gutted because I disappointed my coaches because we had a plan in place, and my desire to win overcame the process. And I got a little run into the fence as a reward for that lesson. Now, a couple of days later, I had a lackluster run. It was good. It didn't feel that great, but it was good. But because I had respected the plan, so we created an awareness of the environment that we were working in, and also a very candid and honest evaluation of the self, who I am and what I'm capable of, and more importantly, maybe things that I'm not really that good at. And when I found a way to create synergy with myself and the environment, great things can happen. And that afternoon, I became Paralympic champion. So that was an experience. In my sporting career, I had peaked. I had achieved more than I'd ever set out to. My journey as a father only beginning. And I knew that I didn't have the energy or the ability to nurture both at a level that I thought satisfactory. So I hung it up. That was 2 years ago, almost 3. So you can see why the departure from sport has been a lot more difficult for me to negotiate than my disability, because when my disability came, I held on to my identity. So in the last couple of years, I've had the good fortune to be able to reflect, go to therapy, have conversations, and here's what I've learned. It's to observe and allow. My kids, they're the best teachers at this. They're hungry, they're gonna cry. They're mad, if you got kids you know, they're gonna let you know. They're happy, they're gonna smile. What they do is they let their emotions integrate. They let them flow, and they can be present to the moment. We're talking about that all day today. And we have to be respectful to those people around us when we're doing this. So here's my final thought. And this is a realization that I've had, is happiness, it's liberation from binding thought. Again, we're deep into the overtime. Thank you guys very much.